I think Joel Embiid has a chip on his shoulder. I think he's played like it all year. Worthy MVP candidate. Hadn't been for an injury, he'd probably be a lock for it.
What's poppin'? Here for another edition of Real or Fake. We're talking the Philadelphia 76ers.
Philly's biggest strength is their defense. It's been for a while. Doc has kept that boat afloat. They have length. They have versatility. They rebound the hell out of the ball. So defensively is where they make their money. I feel it's their biggest strength going into playoffs.
I think it's the biggest strength. That's exactly what I have written up at this time right now is their defense. And that's something that you need in the postseason. You know, the game slows down. You need defenders looking at you at all times. And I think that when you talk about defending a team like a Brooklyn or a Milwaukee, you need that defensive prowess. And I think that the way that their team is set up defensively, it'll help them against the Brooklyn Nets, who they won the season series against. They have a great front court defense with Joel Embiid, and they can, with their defensive prowess, they can. I'm going to say they stop the all-star cast that the Nets have, but they're going to give them problems going into the postseason. Their defense is legit. It'll serve them well.
Absolutely. And Joel Embiid is a great anchor, someone who's going to patrol the glass, make sure that you finish those defensive possessions, because that's the last part of playing the D, is securing that defensive rebound, allowing you to get out. Pieces like Ben Simmons are, Danny Green, guys that are switchable on the likes of KD to some degree and can go out there and guard Kyrie and James Harden, because that's an interesting difference in size and ability when you're having to switch off of Kyrie in a pick and roll and then be on someone as long and lanky as KD. But Ben Simmons and to some degree Danny Green, Tobias Harris, they have the ability to do that to a degree. So I agree with you. Yeah,
I just think that I guess we'll get to this in the end, but I just don't know if that's going to be enough for this team. I don't know. I know their defense is their biggest strength. I just don't know if that's going to be enough with their offensive firepower. And I think that or lack thereof, because they have stars, but their biggest star is Ben Simmons, who is a guy that does a bit of everything. He doesn't necessarily score the ball well. I think he's at about a career average about 15 points in the postseason, right? That's something that you kind of want to get up, something you would like to get up to catch up with these teams. And then you have you need that offensive prowess. And I guess that goes into one of the Sixers' biggest weaknesses in my eyes, which is their bench scoring, 27th in the league. In a league where, in the postseason league, where you need other dudes to step up in playoffs. And I think that if you don't have good bench scoring in the league, that puts a lot more pressure onto your stars in the postseason, where even if they do all that they can do, it might not be enough, because you need that extra scoring punch, because they are they're trying to shut down your top players, and you need those other guys. So my biggest weakness for the Sixers, bench scoring.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I had two areas of concern with the Sixers. Number one was their turnovers. They're bottom third in the league in terms of turning the ball over. You in the playoffs, points are at a premium, possessions are at a premium. You want to take care of the ball. And the other thing, it kind of speaks to what you just talked about, was their ability to make enough threes, to supplement what they get offensively from Joel Embiid. They're 24th in the league in terms of threes made. It just starts to shrink a floor on you when teams know that you can't put it in the bucket from deep consistently. And Joel Embiid needs space. Ben Simmons, to be effective offensively, or to be a better and more effective version of himself offensively, could use more space. When that floor starts to shrink, that's when guys like that will struggle. So you have to keep defensive honest. You have to keep them stretched out. And to do that, you got to be proficient from the three-point line. So that's an area of concern for me.
That's always been a tough thing for the Sixers in the postseason over the last few years, where you can shrink the floor with them, because both of their top guys need spacing. And I guess you could put Joel Embiid at the three-point line to provide space for Ben Simmons, but that takes away a lot of Joel's effectiveness when he's at the three-point line. He's one of the biggest, one of the best interior bigs in our league. So, we'll see with that. The Sixers are a funny team to me, because on paper they're so talented, but when you put it into practice and when you put it into postseason play, they get a bit predictable. And again, there's no spacing. And, that's when you have, Ben Simmons going out of the game for TJ McConnell in past years, right? That's when you have that, because you need to provide that spacing in a postseason atmosphere. And, Man, we'll see what happens. Now, next one. I call this the Raja Bell Memorial Role Player Award for the most important role player in the postseason. Mine, I'm going to go with Shake Milton.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I say Shake Milton is, like, it goes to my biggest weakness with bench scoring and other guys. You need another scorer when you are playing in the postseason. You need a guy that is going to fill it up. When a Ben Simmons can't score more than 15 points a game, you need another guy. You don't need it consistently. You need it for a game or two. You need somebody that's going to help you get a game. And there's always during the postseason a role player that gets a game for you. That he is the reason why maybe he scores 18 points, maybe he gets you 15, but he gets you off. He is important as a role piece to get you over the top. So I'm going to go with Shake Milton. Who you got, Roger?
That's a good pick. I had a bunch for Philly. Ultimately, I settled on Seth Curry. It was for generally the same reason. You need him to be consistently knocking down shots. I talked about their weakness being 3-point shooting. He's got to be able to hold his water defensively, and he's got to be a sniper. He's got to shoot the heck out of the ball and shoot it at a clip and a number that makes teams stay home, where you can't come off of that and slouch off of that at all. He's got to be able to supplement them offensively. So I had Seth Curry in that as my role player.
It's time for addition of real or fake. Now, my pick is, I went back and forth on this, if they are real or not. I actually have it written down that they are real contender. I'm going to change my mind. I think they're fake. Reason being is, if you talk about Joel, you talk about Ben Simmons, and you talk about Doc Rivers. All three of those guys have not proven in the last decade that they can go over the top and actually get it done. We know Doc's prowess in Boston, getting them a championship, but by and large with the Clippers, there have been a lot of underachieving Clippers teams. It's just a known fact. And you talk about that even last year when all the turmoil came with Kawhi and PG. They unraveled in front of our eyes. I've seen that, throughout Doc's coaching career. Love Doc, but that's just the facts. So between all of that, no, either between Doc and Ben and Joel, none of them have proven yet that they can even be a factor long into the playoffs. And they have largely all of them underachieved. So I'm gonna go fake. What do you got, Roger?
Yeah, I'm gonna go real, and yes, they are a contender for the opposite reasons of you. I think they've all got something to prove. I think Joel Embiid has a chip on his shoulder. I think he's played like it all year. Worthy MVP candidate. Hadn't been for an injury, he'd probably be a lock for it. I think Ben Simmons has something to prove. And I do think that Doc Rivers has something to prove. I think he caught a raw deal with the Clippers. I think the message probably got old. It got a little stale. And they blamed him for stuff that I don't believe to really be his fault. So he was he wound up being the scapegoat and the sacrificial lamb in that. I do think he is one of the better coaches in the NBA. And I think he's going to be just the type of guy that Philly team needs to come in there and get them over that hump in the playoffs. I don't know that they will win it this year, but I do think they are a definite threat to be there at the end.